The wind rolled low across the plains like it was whispering secrets to the dying sun. Dust lifted in soft spirals along the edge of town, catching in the glow of evening light. The cowboy stepped out of the feed store, pulling his hat down slightly as he adjusted to the fading brightness. His boots thudded heavy against the wooden porch before meeting the dirt road. It had been a long day of mending fences and hauling grain, and all he wanted now was the quiet ride back to his ranch before darkness settled in. That's when he heard her. "Please, please follow me home." The words were fragile, almost swallowed by the wind, but they carried something sharp inside them, fear. He turned slowly. She stood near the hitching post, half hidden in the lengthening shadows. Her dress was plain and smudged with dirt at the hem. Strands of hair had escaped whatever attempt she'd made to tie it back, clinging to her damp cheeks. Her hands trembled around the strap of a worn canvas bag, knuckles pale from gripping too tightly. Her eyes were the kind that hadn't known sleep in days. He didn't recognize her. This was a small town. New faces didn't slip through unnoticed. "Please," she said again, stepping forward. "I just need someone to walk with me." The cowboy studied her in silence. He had learned over the years that trouble often arrived looking helpless. He had scars to prove it. But this didn't feel staged. It felt desperate. "Where's your family?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. She swallowed, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone to appear from thin air. "At home." That wasn't enough. He noticed the way her breath came unevenly. The way her eyes kept scanning the street. The townsfolk were closing up for the evening, doors shut, lanterns lit. Soon the road would be empty. "You afraid of someone?" he asked quietly. Her throat moved as she forced the answer out. "I'm afraid of what happens if I walk alone." The honesty in that sentence lingered between them. He shifted his weight, thinking. His ranch lay in the opposite direction of wherever she was headed. Helping her would cost him time. Maybe trouble. But the look in her eyes, it wasn't a trick. It was a plea. "All right," he said finally. "I'll walk you." Relief washed over her face so suddenly it nearly broke him. She nodded quickly, stepping closer but still keeping a careful distance, as if unsure whether she truly had permission to feel safe. They started down the dirt road leading out of town. The sky burned orange and gold above them, shadows stretching long across the ground. She kept glancing back, not casually, urgently. "You expecting company?" he asked. She hesitated. "I'm hoping I'm not." The road curved toward a small cluster of farmhouses sitting about half a mile beyond the town's edge. Most of them had been abandoned years ago. Paint peeled from the wood, roofs sagged, fences leaned like tired old men. Only one house showed signs of life, a thin ribbon of smoke curling from its chimney. "That one," she said softly, pointing. "It's mine." As they drew closer, something tightened in the cowboy's chest. The front gate hung crooked, one hinge broken. A shutter knocked repeatedly against the side of the house, though the wind had nearly died. The front door sat slightly open, just enough to notice. She stopped walking. "It wasn't like that," she whispered. "I closed it." Every instinct in his body sharpened at once. "Stay behind me," he said. They approached slowly. The air felt wrong. Too still, too quiet. Even the insects seemed to have paused their evening chorus. He pushed the door open with the back of his hand. The inside looked like a storm had torn through it. A chair lay overturned near the table. A lamp shattered on the floor. Drawers yanked from their places and dumped carelessly. A picture frame lay broken near the hearth, glass scattered like ice. The girl stepped in behind him and let out a broken sound that didn't quite become a scream. "No, no, no." The cowboy scanned the room carefully, eyes adjusting to the dim interior light. Nothing moved, but something had been here. Then he saw them. Boot prints. Large. Mud still damp. They cut across the wooden floor and led straight down the narrow hallway toward the back of the house. He felt his jaw tighten. "Is anyone else supposed to be here?" he asked without looking at her. "My brother," she said, her voice cracking. "He's sick. I left to get medicine." The hallway felt longer than it should have. The boards creaked under his weight as he moved forward. Each step echoed in the silence. The bedroom door was half closed. He pushed it open slowly. The bed was empty. The blanket lay twisted on the floor as if someone had pulled it away in a hurry. The window stood wide open, curtains lifting gently with the faint night breeze. The wooden frame showed fresh scrape marks. Behind him, he heard her knees hit the floor. "He's gone," she breathed. "They took him." The cowboy stepped to the window and leaned out slightly. The dirt beneath it told the rest of the story. More boot prints, leading toward the tree line behind the house. This wasn't random. This was planned. They knew she'd be gone. He turned back to her. Tears streamed down her face now, but beneath the fear was something else, anger. "Who?" he asked quietly. She pressed her hands to her mouth as if holding back something heavier than grief. "My uncle," she finally whispered. "He wants this land. He's been trying to scare us off since my father died." The cowboy absorbed that slowly. Land disputes turned men ugly. He'd seen neighbors become enemies over fence lines and water rights. But taking a child, outside, a branch snapped in the distance. Both of them froze. The sound hadn't come from the house. It came from the trees. He moved back toward the front door and stepped outside, scanning the darkening yard. The sun had nearly vanished now, leaving only a faint blue glow across the horizon. Someone could be watching. He felt it in his bones. He turned back to her, voice steady despite the storm rising inside him. "Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me." Her eyes widened. "You're going after them." He didn't hesitate. "Yes." She grabbed his sleeve before he could step away. "What if they hurt you?" He met her gaze, steady, unwavering. "They already hurt someone." He pulled free gently and adjusted his hat, eyes moving toward the shadowed tree line where the boot prints disappeared. As darkness swallowed the last of the daylight, the cowboy stepped off the porch and into the unknown, unaware that what waited beyond those trees wasn't just a kidnapping or a greedy relative. It was something far deeper. And whatever he was about to discover would shake him in ways he never saw coming. The forest swallowed sound the moment the cowboy stepped beneath its canopy. The last traces of daylight faded behind him, replaced by a thick blue darkness that pressed in from every side. The air felt colder here, heavier, carrying the damp scent of pine and soil. He moved carefully, following the boot prints etched into the dirt. They were deep, deliberate. Whoever had taken the boy hadn't been rushing. That meant confidence. That meant planning. The cowboy's hand rested near his holster, not out of fear but readiness. He had tracked rustlers across harsher terrain than this. But tonight felt different. Tonight there was a child involved. A mile into the trees, he spotted it. An old barn, long forgotten by time. One side of the roof sagged, and a plank hung loose. Near the entrance, a faint lantern glow flickered from inside, casting thin beams of light through the cracks in the wood. He slowed his breathing and moved closer, boots silent against the forest floor. Voices drifted out. Low, careless. "She'll sign it," one man said. "She's got no choice." A cough followed, small, weak. The cowboy's jaw tightened. He stepped inside without knocking. The lantern light revealed two men standing near a crate turned into a makeshift table. One held a bottle, the other leaned against a beam, revolver hanging loose at his side. In the far corner, tied to a wooden chair, sat the boy. His head drooped forward, dark hair stuck to his sweaty forehead. The taller man smirked when he saw the cowboy. "Well now, looks like she found herself a hero." The cowboy didn't respond to the bait. His eyes stayed on the boy. "You don't want to do this," he said calmly. The shorter man laughed, a dry, ugly sound. "We already did." The cowboy took a step forward. "Untie him." The taller man's smirk faded slightly. "That land belongs to her family. But blood don't mean much when debts are involved." "Debts," the cowboy repeated. The man shrugged. "Her father owed plenty before he conveniently drowned." Something about the way he said it felt wrong. The cowboy's eyes sharpened. "You saying he didn't drown?" The two men exchanged a glance. "That ain't your concern," the shorter one snapped. But it was now. The taller man's hand drifted toward his revolver. "Here's how this works. She signs the land over tomorrow morning. The boy walks free. Everyone goes home. And if she doesn't?" the cowboy asked. The man's silence answered clearly. The cowboy stepped closer. "You're gambling with a child's life over property." The taller man drew his gun. He was fast, faster than most. But the cowboy had been in gunfights where hesitation meant a grave. The shot cracked through the barn like thunder. The lantern exploded into darkness. Chaos followed. Shouting, splintering wood, boots scraping violently across the floor. The cowboy moved on instinct, tackling one of the men before he could fire blindly. They hit the ground hard. A fist swung, catching the cowboy across the cheek. Pain flared, but he answered with a solid blow that left the man groaning. Another gunshot rang out, this one wild. A bullet tore through a wooden beam above them. The second man bolted toward the open back wall of the barn, disappearing into the trees. The cowboy didn't chase. He kicked the fallen revolver away and rose quickly, chest heaving. "Easy," he murmured as he reached the boy. The ropes came off fast under his knife. The child slumped forward, weak but conscious. "You're safe," the cowboy said firmly. "I've got you." The boy's eyelids fluttered open. His lips trembled. They said Daddy told them to." The cowboy paused. "What did you say?" The boy coughed, breath shallow. "They said Daddy's alive, that he made a deal." The words hit harder than any fist. "That's not possible," the cowboy muttered, more to himself than the child. But doubt crept in anyway. The whole town believed the father had drowned in the river last spring. The body was never found, but the current had been strong. Everyone assumed the worst. What if that assumption was wrong? The cowboy lifted the boy into his arms. He was lighter than he should have been, fever making his skin burn through his shirt. The walk back felt longer. The forest no longer seemed just dark, it felt watchful. If the father was alive, if he had orchestrated this, then this wasn't about land alone. It was something uglier, something calculated. Halfway to the house, the boy stirred again. "They said he needed money," he whispered weakly. "Said he'd come back once it was done." The cowboy's mind raced. Needed money for what? He pushed through the tree line and saw the farmhouse ahead, a single lantern glowing in the window. The door flew open the moment she saw them. She ran barefoot across the yard. "Oh my God!" She fell to her knees as the cowboy lowered her brother carefully into her arms. She held him tightly, tears falling freely onto his hair. "You're safe, you're safe." "He needs rest," the cowboy said gently. "And water." She nodded quickly, guiding her brother inside. Once the boy was laid on the bed, she turned to the cowboy, hope and confusion mixed in her eyes. "Did you see my uncle?" "One of them," he answered. The other ran. Her expression hardened slightly. "I knew he'd do something like this." The cowboy studied her face carefully. "There's more," he said. Her brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "The men said your father might be alive." Her entire body went still. "That's not possible," she whispered immediately. "We searched for weeks. The river never gave him back," the cowboy said quietly. Silence filled the room. Her eyes welled with tears again, but this time they weren't just from relief. They were from something breaking open inside her. "If he's alive, why would he let this happen?" she asked. The cowboy didn't have an answer. But he felt something shift inside him, a deeper weight than before. Because if the father had arranged this, then the uncle wasn't acting alone. And if money was involved, then this could stretch beyond family disputes. He stepped toward the doorway, glancing out at the dark horizon. "This isn't finished," he said firmly. She looked at him, fear creeping back into her expression. "Are they coming back?" "They might." He turned to face her fully. "But next time, they won't expect me." Outside, the wind began to rise again, brushing through the tall grass like a warning. The cowboy rested his hand briefly on the brim of his hat, mind turning over the boy's words again and again. Daddy told them to. If that was true, then the man everyone mourned wasn't a victim of the river. He was part of something far more dangerous. And the truth, once uncovered, would shake more than just this family. It would shake the entire town.